Hello, Dr. Moore. Happy to have you here and excited to learn more about the circadian cycle, how light impacts us, our health. And before we start, just a quick brief on the podcast, trying to provide tools, knowledge for anyone in the audience to improve their overall wellness. So, thanks for being here, Dr. Martin. I'll pass it over to you to learn more about how your 40 plus years in this area, your research, all the methodology you have developed around, you have a book available, and other things that will support the audience in learning how circadian cycles work and then how they can improve their overall health. Thank you.
Okay. So I've spent my life really looking at the interaction of light, the circadian clocks in the body, and our health. The sort of bottom line of the story is that through many years, many generations, tens of thousands of generations of our ancestors, people lived in natural light during the day. They were mostly outside, and they slept in the dark at night. And when they, in the evenings, they had wood fires and candles. And those, but that contained very little blue. So we've now moved to a world, just in the last 10 years, that is very rich in LED light, and these LED lights pump out. We'll talk about the significance of it. Lots of blue. That blue is seen by our eyes as a signal that tells our bodies that it's daytime. And if those LED lights are on in the evening at night, it's obviously sending the wrong message. And so the whole issue is there are many medical concerns and issues. And my background, just as a brief summary, is I started my research in this area over 40 years ago. I graduated with medical degrees in England, moved over to the States, became Canada first of all, did a surgical internship where I got the experience of working 24 hours around the clock in long hours under bright, turns out blue-rich fluorescent lights, and really got very interested in the whole issue of fatigue and sleep and rhythms and everything else. And then went from there to go to Harvard, did a PhD on the very new field at the time of circadian clocks, the clocks in the body that time our sleep and everything else. In fact, no one believed humans had a clock at the time I started. And then joined the Harvard Medical School faculty, built a research lab, and we discovered the clock, where the clock was located in the human brain, the suprachiasmatic nucleus. That's the clock that times our sleep and hormones and everything else. And then we also discovered something which was not recognized before, that it is actually synchronized by light, like every other animal, except people at that time didn't believe it. And so I've gone on from there to look at the broad health implications of this, and then start to develop what would healthy lighting look like. And we're now at the very exciting time where all sorts of healthy light is becoming available, but we need it badly, and too few people know about it. So this is a great chance to talk about it. And why don't I let you sort of lead us through where you'd like to take the discussion?
Amazing. Thank you for providing all the insights, your background, and how you have been discovering or proving that light has an overall impact in our health, in the way we operate, and it's just something that we need to learn. So thank you for providing lots of venues to expand on the education. I find educational piece for topics like these ones are great. So I know you have a podcast, you have a book, you have lots of resources to support the audience within your website too, a YouTube channel with your podcast. So below we're sharing all the information to review the material, all the work that Dr. Martin has provided throughout time. And it will be great to learn about your book a little bit, to have some insights. I know it's available through Amazon, so lots of ways to get it. And we'll dive into what does the book overall highlights. I know there's some scientific background to it, and as you mentioned, we are bombarded by blue light and how it impacts our overall circadian clocks.
That's absolutely right. So the bottom line is that the light we see is as important to our health as the food we eat, the water we drink, and the air we breathe. And most people now focus on diets and nutrition. In fact, thousands and thousands of books every year on diets and nutrition and health and what you should eat, and a lot of concern about ultra-processed food, junk food, and what it does to our body, and why we need healthy food, but incredibly little on the equally important subject of what is the light we're seeing, and how distorted the LED light is, how unnatural it is as compared to natural daylight. And so it's really something that is driven by so-called energy efficiency. In other words, regulations, laws, standards are forcing and encouraging the adoption of really what I call junk light. In other words, it's light that's designed just for the cheapest way to produce brightness. It's not designed in any way to deliver health. And so part of what I'm trying to do is share the knowledge, and this is not just me. This is 20,000 researchers around the world have contributed to this over the last 30 years. So it's a big body of work, but the scientists all speak to each other. We all agree, but we never talk to our neighbors. At least that was the problem. And so I think talking to people, lay people who are making day-to-day decisions is important. And people are concerned about LED lights. They see how harsh they are. They see this blinding bluish white light that greets their eyes when they're on the streets and the cars' headlamps are coming towards them. They see the uncomfortable brightness under the LEDs. They see that the incandescent light, much more comfortable light, the old light bulbs are being banned. Why would they ban them? They see the halogen lights are being banned. And more we're getting unhealthier and healthier LEDs. And when I say unhealthy, it's, these are very major issues. It's not just sleep. It's much more than that. It disrupts our melatonin, and melatonin is very important in the suppression of cancer at night. It disrupts, it causes increased risks of obesity. People gain weight. People actually, when you're sitting under these blue rich lights, we can show their appetite immediately goes up. They start snacking twice as much. Obesity, diabetes is much higher in people who are exposed to artificial light at night. Heart disease, heart attacks are almost double the rate of 60-year-olds having heart attacks or strokes if they're exposed to too much light at night. Psychiatric disorders, mood disorders, the evidence goes on. And these aren't just sort of one odd random study, because you go out there and you read the newspapers and somebody tells you a study where you say, well, that may be okay, but this is actually based on thousands of studies. And some of them very large, some involving 80,000 people, tracking how much light they're seeing and what diseases they get. And the bottom line also is that people who get exposed to the best light, which is natural daylight during the mornings in particular, and people who sleep in the dark at night, live 5 years longer than people who are indoors under artificial light and so forth. So it's a pretty important subject. So if you want a long, healthy light, this is a topic you want to listen to and find out more, and find out how to take advantage of light as part of your health.
Thank you. And one of the things or questions that come to my mind would be, therefore, taking some time to go outside and have natural light throughout the day, maybe early in the morning if it's possible, will help as well. Would that be something important?
That's right. That's right. So lesson number one, right? We'll try to get some lessons out of this. All right. Lesson number one is get out every day into the daylight, even if it's dark and cloudy, even if it's raining or snowing. Get outside, because that light outside is 100 to 1,000 times brighter and more rich, because it's got all the colors of the rainbow in it. And one of the fascinating things we're learning is that light is not just for vision, so we can see. Light is also very directly impacts our health. So the light coming in through the eyes is preventing, if kids play outside, they don't get myopia, they don't get short-sightedness. If kids stay indoors, they get short-sighted and myopia. And that's just one part of the violet part of the spectrum that's doing that. We know that if you don't see the blue light in the mornings, then your circadian rhythms get suppressed. We know that green light actually enhances your emotions, calms your amygdala, is a soothing effect. And we know that red and near infrared light, that's invisible light that's just outside the red, but it's a part of what we perceive as heat. That actually restores mitochondrial energy. Those are the cell packets, the cell-producing packets in every one of our cells, boost mitochondrial energy and recovery. So all of that, there's a huge amount of health sitting in sunlight. We used to, in medicine, Florence Nightingale, that's 1860, wrote about the importance of patients getting exposed to natural light and how they got better faster. In around the turn of the century, 100 years or more ago now, hospitals put out people outside as part of their cure in the sunshine. We've now brought everybody inside under LED lights. We got modern medicine, to be sure, that does antibiotics work. You know, modern medicine does wonders, but we missed a very important part of the feature. And hospitals are one of the worst culprits. They're using, because they think they're saving energy, and they're meant to be saying do no harm. That's the Hippocratic oath, remember? That is not in fact done if you put in artificial LED lights and harsh LED lights, and particularly if you leave on the lights at night, as hospitals tend to do. So it's more convenient for the nurses and the doctors to see the patient. That does much more harm to the patient. So yeah, no, it's getting outside is lesson number one on a regular basis. That will help boost your circadian rhythms, those 24-hour patterns in human metabolism and function, improve your sleep, and so forth.
Great advice, thank you. And another thing that will be relevant to review and might go hand in hand is blue light. There's certain things we can do to maybe suppress or get less effects from the blue light. Let's say we have to be in front of the computer, and therefore there are some things like specific eyewear that we can use. Also, I know you have you have created a specific, let's say, package that will be available for others to support their health and know what to get, like which type of bulbs and other things that will be handy for their house.
Absolutely. Managing blue light is absolutely critical. Blue, by the way, is neither good nor bad. It's the time of day you see it. So in the daytime, you want the most blue you can. That will strengthen your health and your circadian rhythms. But the blue coming in through the eyes, touching the receptors, we've got photoreceptors, blue detecting receptors in our eyes. If that signal comes to our eyes because of the artificial LED lights in the evening, it disrupts our pattern, disrupts our rhythms. Now, the solutions are, number one, no one really wants to switch out all the lights as soon as it's dark outside, particularly in the winter. You can't sit around all night in the dark. But if you can use lights, there are now lights available that remove all the blue and still provide a very good reading experience so you can read and see. And those are some so-called zero blue lights. And they're also reading lights you can use, on your book and everything else, or in your night lights and everything else that don't have any blue in them. And so we put together a package. It's a gift to those who subscribe the annual paid subscription to my Substack newsletter. So it's not only a book I've written called The Light Doctor, which is a bestseller on Amazon, but that book now has a bi-weekly newsletter that comes out on all the hot topics. What are the new products coming out? What are the new solutions? What's the research showing, and so forth. And you can sign up for free and just get newsletter, or you can get a lot more information and get the package, our ultimate circadian bedroom lighting package, which contains automatic light bulbs for the bedroom, contains reading lights, contains a copy of my book, of course, and night lights to guide your way to the bathroom, so you can live in a totally blue-free environment. So that's part of the solution. The other side of it, of course, is if you're using computer screens, they're also emitting blue, and so and you need to block them with blue blocking glasses. buyer beware, though. A lot of blue blocking glasses block entirely the wrong blue. It's a particular part of it's a sky blue part of the spectrum, a very narrow part of the spectrum, centered around 480 nanometers that we need to block. And that's where, so if you get blue blocking glasses, and we have solutions like that. So the answer is you can control this environment, you can live a normal life. And then the last part of it is make sure you sleep in the dark. And that's why we like these night lights that you can use that guide your way to the bathroom if you need it. But otherwise, you need to be in a blue-free environment. So those are part of the solutions. Learning about it through the book, learning about it through my bi-weekly newsletter on Substack, and pointing to the tools. And we're building a catalog now of all the products that are coming into the market now that are validated and safe and will help you manage the light you see. So it's something it's new we need to think about. Everyone talks about their nutritional diet. Everyone also needs to think about their light diet.
Yes, and this is an interesting point. Sometimes we just focus on our health from a silo perspective, and we are not looking at from a, like, let's say, holistic point of view, because we are an ecosystem, to put it in simple terms, that we might be affected for things that sometimes might not feel connected per se, but we have been hearing in the news, within all the material you've shared, the resources you have, your book, it makes sense, all of this, given that when we are outdoors, the light plays a big role in it, also fresh air and whatnot. But like, through time, it has been proven, and I know you have many resources available, not only with your book and your podcast, you also have your Google Scholar, and there's so much research around it. So it's really interesting to learn how we can impact, or how we can create this change. One of the things that I've seen throughout the last couple of years, or since COVID, maybe those silver linings, we've been focusing more on how we can change things on a health perspective, overall wellness, and it's taking some proactive steps to avoid falling ill, and not just thinking, as you said, if I'm eating junk food, then I'll be sick. Like, there's so many things that come into play that will create this healthy body we are looking to achieve, and trying to be mindful and go ahead of the game and think, okay, this is what I need to do to not feel fatigued by the end of the day, or to have like my mind racing and going, because we're looking at our cell phones before going to bed, and we've heard it a lot, I'm sure. But those couple of things we can do proactively for our wellness, and it's great to hear you have all the supporting material and data to drive this point across.
Yeah, it's a very important point, and I think most people don't realize that these LED lights that we have are carcinogenic. I mean, they're cancer inducing, breast cancer in women, prostate cancer in men, colorectal cancer, and the more we use them, the more those cancers are growing. The number of people getting it. Interestingly, women living before exposure to electric light, breast cancer was very rare. It's very rare in parts of the world where there are no electric lights, because electric is not yet electrified parts of the world. Very rare breast cancer, and even blind women who've been blind since an early age have low rates of breast cancer. So it tells us there's a lot to do with the light that people are seeing. And so this is, I think, why, and these cancers are growing. Some of them are growing. Colorectal cancer is growing about 4% a year. People are saying, in young people, that is. People are saying, why is that? Well, I think this is part of the answer. So light is not the cure to everything, but it sure is something you want to nail down. And it's actually pretty simple to nail down, provided that you take the effort to find what you want. And one of the big problems, of course, is we've moved indoors, and particularly since COVID, and then after COVID, the percent time that people spend outside is probably 5%, and the average person, 95% of the time is spent indoors. That's unhealthy. And so we've got this sort of unhealthy, very artificial environment. We've lit our caves in a very strange way, basically, with these LED lights. driven by these regulations. And the regulations are a problem. Department of Energy, the Design Light Consortium, the people who regulate ASHRAE, the people who regulate lights are all concerned about producing brightness with the cheapest electricity. And so they just force more and more artificially light that doesn't contain any violet, doesn't contain any red, doesn't contain any infrared. And so they're taking away a lot of the healthy parts of the spectrum, all in the name of trying to meet a very artificial standard called lumens per watt. And lumens is measuring just the yellow and green parts of the spectrum. That's all it's measuring. It doesn't detect anything else. So they're just trying, and that's because that's where we perceive visual brightness. So they're trying to produce bright light with the least electricity. And so it's part of the climate change lobby. And I'm totally in sympathy with reducing energy consumption where we can and less greenhouse gases and all the rest of it. Totally sympathetic. But it does not make any sense to save the planet and increase, but harm people's health at the same time. This is not somewhere where you want to scrimp and save. Lighting is only 6% of our household electricity bill is the lighting. It's a small section. It is stupid, quite frankly, to make that lighting harmful just so you can reduce the utility bill by a few cents. It really makes no sense at all. So that's one of the things we're working on, and we have a campaign for healthy lighting. That's at circadianlight.org for people who want to learn about that and how that works. So we have a number of efforts going on to educate policymakers, manufacturers, the consumer, really, because we've gone entirely the wrong direction with light, and so we've got to do much better. And yet the science is there. This is not a new fangled idea or one crazy suggestion from one mad scientist. This is the considered opinion of thousands of scientists and lots of research. It just is the climate lobby is not talking to the to the health lobby. It's a very strange situation. People get in. I think you were talking about silos. People get in silos of activism, and so we have to deal with that too. So anyway, but it's up to everyone to learn about it. That's why I urge you to get your copy of The Light Doctor. It's very readable. It's designed for the lay person to read. Subscribe to the newsletter. And really get on top of this subject, because actually there's a lot you can do to immediately start to feel better. Because you start getting into a regular pattern, the light, you'll suddenly feel healthier, you'll sleep better, and those effects are actually very noticeable. People say to me all the time, "My gosh, I started doing what you suggested, Martin, and I'm already feeling better. Is that possible?" And I say, absolutely, it's possible, because you're getting your body back into its natural rhythm again.
Yes, it's amazing how going back to like the basics and nature plays such a big role in our overall health and wellness. So greatly appreciate all those insights and the information you have provided with the audience. I know we're all like almost close to our time to wrap up. One of the key things I found through your LinkedIn posts was the study about golfers, like how it was proven that they lived overall like maybe 5 years longer than non-golfers. So it was interesting to read it and to see also other studies for women that have had more exposure, or men to sunlight. They have proven to live longer. So it's really interesting to see all these being proven in different sets or countries. And I don't know if there's anything you want to highlight on these, or another lesson you want to share with us before we wrap it up.
Well, I just give you one. I mean, one of the big problems of our time is mental disorders. The levels of anxiety and depression are much higher. And I just share maybe one study that's been repeated several times, so it's not just a fluke. But if you take a group of people who are sufficiently severely depressed or anxious, they have to be admitted to a psychiatric hospital, and you put them in the hospital, and one side of the hospital wing has windows that are facing south and east, so they get the morning sun. And the other side of the corridor, the window is facing north and west. The patients who go into the hospital, into those sunlight facing rooms in the morning, they get morning sunlight, get out in half the time, even though they're on the same medicine, the same doctors, the same therapy, same drugs, same conditions when they started. They're getting out in half the time because they're getting morning sunlight, as opposed to the evening people on the other side who just don't get any sunlight in the mornings. So again, that's one of many studies that sort of show us, that this is affecting our mental health as well as our physical health. And the timing of when you see light and the type of light you see is really critical.
Totally. And well, thank you, Dr. Moore. Greatly appreciate all the time, the information you provided to the listeners. And below, we're sharing all the links to your website, social handles, the book, the newsletter with the Substack of products you have available to support everyone with their circadian clocks. So, a pleasure having you, and have a great day.
Thank
Go
you,
get
Linda.
some sunlight.
Absolutely.
Thanks.